ている気がするんですが、わからんので、確認をね、あちこちでしようかな。できてるね。OK。YouTube の方はもうバックアップだからね、どっちでもいいんですけど。これどうし、いけてるね。いけてますね。はい。まあ多分、僕がテストでは大丈夫だったし、大丈夫なんだろうと信じてやりましょうかね。はい。絵が綺麗で気になっていたので、この The First Tree というゲームをやってみようと思います。完全に初見です。ちょっと今日はコメント見てないので、どうしようかな。コメントか。見た方がいいかな。なんかコメントビューは入れてたような気がするな。あるな。これだよな。こっちは見えない方がいいかな。よいしょ。よいしょ。はーい。ですね。これで、見ればいいような気がします。よいしょ。YouTube と、ペリスコープね。一瞬あれするか。よいしょ。ペリスコープこれでしょ。これの URL を貼ればいいはず。すげえ雑で申し訳ないですけど。これで接続すると出るんでしょ多分。YouTube の方も、YouTube の方も自分のこれでしょ URL を貼ればいいはず。こうだ。エラー出た。いっか。スルーしましょう、今日は。はい。やります。なんか縦長なんですね、画面。スマホ前提なのかな。タブレットとか。縦長だ。大きいかな。完全に初見プレイです。ボリュームメーター的にこのぐらいで音量いいんじゃないかなという気がします。
Are you awake? I thought I heard you get up.
走る。
Yeah, I'm awake. Sorry, I just can't sleep.
Are you thinking about him?
Yeah, a bit. You should get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems...
待ってくださいね。解像度、これ変えれるのでは？マウスか。よいしょ。これが一番大きいのか。違うな。この辺に38402160がありますね。いいですね。そうそう。フルでいけるでしょう。よいしょ。字幕入れときましょう。ちっちゃいな。解説モードってなんだろう。
It's weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried.
二段ジャンプができる。
Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days, that's all.
とりあえず走るの気持ちいいですね。
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me.
ちょっとお母さん的な顔ですね、なんか。
Alright.
あまりカメラを揺らさない方がいいんでしょうかね。Why made this game がある。これどうなんのこれ。
So it's usually at this point where people say something like, "This is not the kind of game I was expecting."
それは
And that happened a lot at PAX West when I showed it. We'd have little kids play it, but then they see a dead fox cub, or a kit is technically the word, but cub sounds, I don't know, it sounds better. Like Wes Anderson uses it in Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I thought cub would be all right. But anyway, having this game, I wanted it to be more serious. This game's based on dealing with the death of my father, which is the hardest thing that's ever happened to me and my family. But I don't want to talk about it here, and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody really to this day still. It's very personal. And that's why I made this game. That's exactly the reason. Because I wanted to get those feelings out and like communicate with people without like talking about it. And so that's what the first tree is. It's me dealing with my feelings, and it was a personal project, and it was just me, and it actually, like, I'm really glad I made it, but it wasn't easy to make, I guess is what I'm saying. So not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected. She couldn't stay though. She had to find her other 2 children. So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers, high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own.
ウサギだ
The land was trying to tell my story too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
ゲームが喋ると自分が喋りにくいですね。2人喋ると聞こえづらいだろうしね。同じ理由でこれを開くのはちょっとためらわれるけど、ちょっと聞くか。
The bunnies were added because my wife, Elise, who also voices Rachel in the game, who's also helped a ton to make the game, as we were playing, she just said the world felt kind of empty and not alive enough. So I knew we needed to add some kind of life. And so the bunnies was like the first idea that came to mind. And like most of the game, I used like publicly available assets to speed up production because I was working full time along with making this game, and we just had our first baby, a little girl named Evelyn. So I was messing with this asset called Herd Sim, and at one point, like the generation script that creates variations of the sizes of the bunny. One time I got out of control and it made like this monster bunny that towered over everybody. And I shared that GIF on Imager and Reddit, and that was a huge hit. It helped definitely gain an audience for this game. But it's hard because this game is like so serious. It's about life and death, not giant bunnies. But I knew I needed something, like a shout out to that, because it was pretty fun. So if you're able to catch all the bunnies on this map, I think there's around 13, then you'll get a special surprise. So good luck.
すごい雑に言うと、奥さんがこの世界がもっとなんでしょう、生きてるように感じるために何か入れた方がいいっていう話で追加したらしい。アクションボタンかな。
Do you remember what my dad did for a living?
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
これは一体
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour
列車のお
week,
もちゃです
even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father. Usually those kids would leave me alone,
戦車が
but
出て
somehow they
き
could tell I was different.
戦車には何もで
They
きない
made fun of how far away I lived. They called my dad sourdough. I was a blabbermouth as a kid, telling my dad stories I made up for hours. But after that show and tell, I didn't tell him much anymore. He didn't know exactly what was wrong, but his best guess was that the toys he carved weren't cool enough. He carved me a tank. He tried to tell me what it was like to be in a real tank as a serviceman.
I didn't know your dad was in the military.
Yeah, in the army. The sad thing is that I'd pretty much forgotten until just now. There's so much I still don't know about him.
I'm sorry. He knows how much you love him. You're going to see him again soon and have some closure.
ここに上が
I'm
りたい
sure.
ですね。いけるのかな。おもちゃ、アヒルのおもちゃ。次はあれってこと？あれってアラスカ、結構いろいろありますね。どうしようかな。大丈夫かなこれ。大丈夫かな。ああ、いけた。よかった。ちょっと怖かった。お話ね、聞いてもなんか作者の個人的なお話が聞かれるばっかりなんで、まあ、ちょっとスルーかな。あれは何でしょうね。滑り台みたいな感じですかね。この辺なのかな。このキラキラを全て集めたら良いのかな多分。よいしょ。お褒めしましょう。
The older I got, the more I withdrew.
絵が出て
I
きた。
asked myself, why talk to anybody anyway? Why bother when I'm happy by myself? I started drawing a lot, mostly animals I saw in the woods by my home. I then imagined designing my own hideouts with things like TVs and pantries full of chips and cookies. I think that idea of leaving home and drawing blueprints started my career. I found a lot of solace in that.
I'm not surprised, but I did the same thing, you know? There's something special about having a place to call your own.
And now look at us. Well, if you count renting in an overpriced city.
あれを手に入れなきゃいけないでしょ。
It's as close as we can get for now.
なんか向こうにも十字に光るものがありますね。お、頼む頼む。あ、取れた。よかった。はい。高いところに行くとね、次のなんか目指すべき場所が見える感じがします。あっちになんかあるな。結構あちこちにあるな。作者曰くのんびり探索して2時間とからしいので、まあそれまでには終わるのかな多分ね。つまり全部探し終えたら終わりって感じでしょうか。自分の声がほとんど聞こえないからうまく喋れてるかは全くわからない。もうちょっと使いやすいシステムを組んだ方がいいな。 アルテックスコースに頼ってるからな。どうしようかな。どうしようかね。ミキサー1台買った方がいいな。どこだっけ。どこを目指していたのだったか。これなんだろう。穴を掘るやつですね。
As a kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once, when I was in the fourth grade. You know how my life was around then.
船かな。
I wanted to show my class what helped pass the time and distracted me. So I brought a dozen paper
高
cranes
所
I
に
had
登らない
made.
とね。
I think I told everyone how badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad,
やっぱ
a
り
wooden
本当に
boat.
船なんですね。
I remember guarding it so carefully in my hands as I walked into class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in, or why an ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friend had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
Some of them
超
are.
小さいけど、
I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all.
この画面サイズで遊ぶことを想定してないんでしょうね。ちょっと高所に登って次の目標を見定めたい。鳥が進みづらい。飛んだ方が早い。この方が早いのかな。よし。他はあの辺か。こっちはないのかな。なさそうな気がするね。実はお話しスルーしちゃダメとかあるかな。あんまり配信映えはしませんね、これは。喋ることがあまりないな。 おやこれはあ、違うエリアに来たのか。23個集めたから来たのかな。ちょっとあっちへ向かってみようかな。とりあえず逆走したくなってしまう。職業病ですかね。いけない。了解しました。まあ戻れないということは正しく進んできたということでしょうね、多分ね。なのであのキラキラだけ集めれば良いということですね。話を聞くのはちょっとやめておきましょうか。
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom, so I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
「冬っぽかったとこから秋になりましたね。おや？つまりその辺に蝶々がいるってこと？もういたじゃん。こっちにはいないのかな。なんかグイッと正面を向きたいけど、そういうのもないな。おやおや。この前にちょっと、意外と遠いかな。飛距離が伸びる的な。おお、すごい。飛んだ。力を貸しておくれ。ここでやることは終わりっぽい感じがするね。あれはそうか。おお。こう落下する映像を見ると落ちる時の何でしょう、落下する VR 作品を思い出して酔うようになってきたなとだんだん影響を受けてる。まあでもなんか影が綺麗ですね。 くこの細かいことに手つけるな。まあ距離で何かしてるのかもしれませんが、自分の近くのカメラが綺麗なのかな。なんか落ちてるカメラっぽい。
He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they'd come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us in a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
なんか吹き出しマークの話は何でしょう、ゲームのストーリーと関係ないことを喋って、穴を掘って出てくるのはゲームのストーリーに関係ありそうなんですけど、なんか本人のことを喋ってるんですかね。なんかお父さんとの思い出を。よいしょ、わかんないけど。なくならないという話をしていたような気がする。ちゃんと聞いてないけど。これ降りていい？まあ降りるか。頭を使うという気がないんです。よいしょ。これそんなにジャンプしなくてもいいのでは。あ、いるわ。マジ結構難しいな。よし。今使ってるディスプレイ結構値段で選んだので色が薄いな。配信用の別の画面を見るとすごいこっちはなんか腐り軸っぽいんですけど、ちゃんとあ、全然足りない。やばい、頼む。いけんかった。やったな。そのうち買い替えたいな。安いのは良かったんですけどね。ジャンプ中に手がほよほよしてるのかわいいですね。こっちの方に登れるかな。 お、いや全然ダメやん。頼む。あ、ジャンプできない。どうすればいいのか。どうすればいいのかな。こっちの方がなだらかだからこっちから行くか。もう一回。全然いける気がしないな。全然。お、何これ、何これ。いけた。よくわからなけどいけた。よかったのかな、これで。まあ、いっか。謎の挙動をしてしまったけど、まあ、いいでしょう。いや、残ってないな。
After he drove me home from the police station, I blew up at him, saying how I never wanted to be like him, how I was gonna be someone and leave that hick icebox for good. He just looked forward at the road with tired eyes. I took out that bluegrass tape from the cassette deck and chucked it out the window. In my sage teenage wisdom, I thought I had proved the ultimate point. But my dad had a different idea. He slammed the brakes, slowly bowed his head while gripping the steering wheel, and finally looked at me. All he said, like it was a polite request, was, "Make this right." I sat there in silence, fuming, but I eventually got out and combed every square inch of the woods, muttering profanity after profanity. I found it 30 minutes later, near a small waterfall off the road. I went back to the truck, put the wet tape back in, and sure enough it worked. We didn't speak another word to each other the rest of the night.
Wow, I knew you were a crazy teenager, but
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It surprises me too. It's like I didn't really know who that kid was back then. I bet my dad thought the same thing over and over.
本当にやんち
It's
ゃです
almost
ね。
like he was saying, "Make this right" to himself, more than to me.
これは何？これは、ああ、このポジションからなら飛べるよ的なことかな。一番近いのは、よし。あれマジ？蝶々って重ね掛けできるの？3尾いけるの？何？そんなの？ああ、そっか、できるか。上からまずやればいいのか。あれですかね、木のモデル1個しかない感じかな。この気がして。あ、そんなことないかな。そんな気がしてきましたね。なんか全部同じなんです。自然に見えるもんですよね。すごい。よいしょ。ほう。これで1個。絶対に今からジャンプしない。 しで登れるはず。よしよし。
My friends would laugh about that night and talk about how crazy it was, and I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving, where all I would have to look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers. I had to climb over. That was my only goal for a long time.
おお。結構広いな。まあこれはストーリーテリングですね。なんかストーリーテリングメインの。
If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier. I wanted to create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it.
おや。
It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
You're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
Oh, なるほど。結構ね、のんびりした作品ですね。しかしまあ、なんていうか、システム的にはシンプルですよね。あの木浮いてない？大丈夫？ああ。シンプルですよね。なんかレベルを作れるのがすごいなって思いますけどね、人の見てるとね。ちょっとめちゃ広いな。飽きてきた。本当は最初の5分でもう飽きてたけど、うん。これは自分向きではないかもしれないな。やめようかな。もう一つ光を見つけたらやめよう。景色はいいんですけどね。違うな。まあニアでもちょっとやるかな。お、この辺まで行こう。 そうね、これ仕組みをちょっと良くしたいな。中野ブロードウェイにミキサーとか売ってそうなお店あるな。そういえば。手物のやつとかいいんだけど。よし、わかった。よくわかりました。終了にします。はい、ありがとうございました。